أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي ليس لأوليته ابتداء ولا لأزليته انقضاء وانحصرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته وردعت عظمته العقول والذي لا تواري عنه سماء ولا أرض أرضا ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد البطحاء سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
لا سيما على بقية الله وحجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء ولولاه لصاخت الأرض بأهلها واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الإمام أبو جعفر الثاني الجواد عليه الصلاة والسلام: عز المؤمن غناه عن الناس. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Ta'ziyat and condolences to all the mu'mineen in the Islamic Ummah, especially the Imam of our time, Waliyul Asr, Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, and to all of you respectable brothers and sisters, as we are commemorating the martyrdom of our ninth Imam, Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. Our ninth Imam, his short profile, his name is Muhammad, and his kunyat is Abu Ja'far al-Thani. That's how he's commonly known in Ilm al-Riwayah. If you find narrations narrated saying Qala Abu Ja'far al-Thani, that means it's the ninth Imam. Abu Ja'far al-Awwal is Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. And his alqab and titles are Al-Murtada, the chosen one, and Ibn al-Rida, the son of Rida, and the most famous one is obviously At-Taqi and Al-Jawad, the pious and the generous. And he is the youngest of all the Imams among Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who dies at the age of 25. Youngest after Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam among the Ahlul Bayt. She died earlier. Among the rest of the Ahlul Bayt, among the 12 Imams, he is the youngest, which again shows the situation of the Islamic Ummah and how much the people were sleeping and how much the people were ignoring their responsibilities towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That we have been losing our Imams one by one so easily. His duration of Imamat is 17 years, and he reaches the position and mansab of imamah and walaya at the age of 8. Although we believe there's no difference between young and old among the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and they are born with the knowledge of Quran, but there's one person who is on the mansab at a time. So at the time of the shahadat, the martyrdom of his great father, Imam Rida alayhi salam, he was just 8 years old. And Imam Rida alayhi salam has said in his hadith that هذا المولود الذي لم يولد مولود أعظم بركة منه. This is a child that there has been no child born with greater barakat and blessing than him. And it's so much understandable if you look at the life history and these occasions and events when we commemorate the martyrdom or the milad of the Imam are one of the best times where we talk about the Imam. So we learn a little bit about what they went through and what was their message. So definitely he is the one who is the greatest in barakat among the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And after the martyrdom of Imam Rida alayhi salam, when Mamun killed him, he he moved towards Baghdad, and from Marv, which was his earlier capital, he moved towards Baghdad and made Baghdad his capital, and forcibly invited Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam all the way from his hometown of Medina to Baghdad, most probably to cover up his crime of killing Imam Rida alayhi salam and to fool the masses, the regular simple-minded people. We have been battling simple-mindedness throughout the centuries of Islamic history. And the most likely, most vulnerable, the biggest victim of satanic deceptions throughout the history are not the pious people. It's not possible for a muttaqi person to be deceived. It's not possible for a person who protects his iman to be deceived, because Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam has already said that al-mu'minu kayyisun fatin. Mu'min has qiyasat and fitanat. Mu'min has the awareness, he has the intelligence. So, man ittaqallah asha qawiyan. Amir al-Mu'minin says, whoever has taqwa, he lives strongly. Man ittaqallah asha qawiyan wasara fi biladi aduwihi amina. And he's going to move around in the country of his enemy securely. So our taqwa is our biggest protector. But how many people have taqwa? And how many people manage to protect their iman? Those are the key questions, isn't it right? So what is backfiring the Islamic ummah is our own ignorance, our own simple-mindedness. And not just that, but we have been paying a very heavy price for this simple-mindedness, because the political and social duties are like this. Like it or not, that's the way it is. If the community fails to perform their social and political obligations towards the walayat of the imam of their time, even the imam is going to suffer. This has been the case. We have been witnessing the shahadat of 11 of our greatest personalities who had no fault. Why were they killed? Did they have a fault? No. We had the faults. We failed to do our duties. Isn't it right? This is the message that we need to understand and digest. So even the greatest of the personalities who have no sin will end up suffer, and may also end up getting slaughtered and tortured and jailed and killed. Why? Because the community collectively, most of them at least, are not doing their political and social obligation towards the Imam of the time. Individual obligations have nothing to do with that. आप नमाज शब पढ़ते हो ना पढ़ते हो, मुझे क्या मिलेगा आपकी नमाज शब से? मैं नमाज शब पढ़ूं कि ना पढ़ूं, आपको क्या मिल गया मेरी नमाज शब से? Isn't it right? This has to be very clear in our minds. So who is the most religious person? The one who performs individual duties of Islam is the most religious guy in the Islamic Ummah? If that was the case, then the people of Kufa also prayed behind Muslim ibn Aqil. They were not Tariqus Salat. You never find in a single history the women of Kufa came out without hijab. They stopped doing the hijab. That's why Imam Hussein got killed. No. That was not the case. The women in Kufa used to do the hijab. Isn't it right? They used to go for Hajj as well. They used to pray. They used to fast. We need to digest. When we are talking about Imam al-Jawad becoming Shaheed in the age of 25, the youngest Masoom Imam among the 12, becoming Shaheed at the age of just 25. Why? So, look at the barakat of those, small duration of time when this Imam, the commander-in-chief, Imam Jawad, becomes commander-in-chief of the whole universe. He's calling the shots of the whole universe, is reporting back to him. Every particle of the universe reports back to the Imam of the time, because he's not only the Imam of the humans and jinns, he is the Imamul Kainat wa Sabitat. He is the Imam of every single existence other than Allah is under his command. That's the sort of Imam we believe in. Everything reports back to him. In the age of 8, he's eligible to be the commander-in-chief of the universe. Look at his knowledge and taqwa. Look at his taharatul qalb, his cleanliness of the soul. You get the knowledge based on your taharat, isn't it right? The more taharat in the soul you have, the higher knowledge you deserve to get. And the less taharat you have in your qalb, बाज़े लोग ऐसे होते हैं 70-70 साल के हो गए, 80-80 साल के हो गए, मगर अपनी अक़ली रुश्त रूहानी बुलूगत के एतबार से अभी बच्चे हैं. क्योंकि अभी तक ये एहसास ही नहीं हुआ, ये एहसास ही उजागर नहीं हो सका कि हमें इमाम ज़माना की निस्बत क्या करना है. बच्चा ही कहा जाएगा ना. इंसान अभी अक़ली तौर पे, रूहानी तौर पे नाबालिग है. तो मैं आपसे अर्ज़ कर रहा था, so Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam was forcibly invited by Mamun Rashid, la'natullah alayh. Another deception. For whom? For muttaqi people? No. None of the muttaqi people ever got deceived by those silly procedures to deceive the simple-minded ones. And this exactly same pattern of behavior you see happening today, all those various evil people and evil organizations. By yesterday they were bad guys, and by today they became good. Isn't it right? The same pattern, history repeats itself by the change of characters. Again, who is deceived today? The simple-minded ones, not the muttaqi people. Not at all. They can't even think of deceiving the muttaqi people. So, Imam al-Jawad is invited to cover up the crime of Mamun Rashid. He invites Imam alayhi salam again forcibly. People are still silent. Nobody raises no voice. Isn't it right? And now Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, when he comes, Mamun Rashid, as usual, had gathered lots of scholars, lots of higher up people of the society to show how much, a scholar-loving kind of person he is, who loves the scholars, he respects the scholars, he respects the Ahl al-Bayt, he loves the Ahl al-Bayt. That kind of policy. Look at the hypocrisy at its peak. But it works. It works very well for them because of the simple-minded people. So Imam al-Jawad was invited. He's just a young boy, isn't it right? 80 years old approximately. And Yahya ibn Aksam, Darbari Mullah Darbari, who were never less in the history. Almost every Taghut employed one of those, isn't it right, to justify their wrongs in the name of Islam. And again, another common policy. It's a pattern of behavior. When you see a pattern of behavior oft repeating, you understand this is something they always do, isn't it right? This is a standard operation procedure, SOP, for the Tawaghit. So this is another SOP for them. They constantly do that, bring Taghuti Darbari mullahs to justify the zalim. Yahya ibn Aksam is one of those present in the gathering. And in order to insult Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, he poses a question to the Imam and says to the Imam in that gathering that if a person hunts during ihram, what is the penalty? We all know hunting, shikar, is haram while you are muhrim, while you have the niyat of ihram. So that was the question he posed. What's the penalty of a person who hunts while he was muhrim? And Imam alayhi salam replies back with a long list of questions, which I'm paraphrasing all these narrations in my words to make it simpler. Imam said, was the hunting done in the limits of haram? You know, we have the limits of haram, which are way outside. Is haram of Kaaba is not just the Al-Masjid al-Haram, that sacred, most sacred mosque and its walls, not only the city of Makkah, but also, vast areas around the city inside the desert is included in the huge haram and holy sanctuary of Makkah. Once you enter that area, it's haram to do the hunting if you are muhrim. So Imam says, was that hunting done inside the haram? We call the inside area is called haram and the outside is called the hill. So are you in the hill or are you in the haram? These are the two opposites. So Imam said, was the hunting done in the haram? Is the hunter, he knew the ruling, or he was jahil and ignorant about the ruling? Did he hunt intentionally or unintentionally? Was the hunting done in the night or the daytime? Was the hunted animal one of the birds? Was the hunter a baligh or a non-baligh? Was the hunting done in the niyat of ihram for the sake of hajj, or it was done in the niyat of ihram for the sake of umrah? Look at the all list of questions that Imam alayhi salam is posing, which shows the in-depth knowledge of the Imam about hajj, one of the most complex chapters of Islam. And was the animal a small one or a big one? All those questions were posed by the Imam, and they were shocked, absolute shock. They never expected. This question can possibly have all those offshoots. Those jahil people had no clue about that. So definitely not Yahya ibn Aksam had a clue about that. And neither, Mansur al-Dawaniqi, Mamun, had any clue about that. And this is where Mamun al-Rashid said to Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam that you start the sigha of aqd. Mamun al-Rashid wanted Imam al-Jawad to marry his daughter al-Fadl, and that's where the gathering was arranged for. So in order to again cover up the knowledge of Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, please say salawat. Imam Al-Jawad recited the Aqd upon 500 dirhams of Mahr, which is called Mahr al-Sunnah, isn't it right? The Mahr of the Sunnat. That's the Sunnat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That's the Sunnat of Sayyidah Fatima alayhim as-salam. This is how it is. One of the nuhusat, I will say, of today's society is that there are some people who are making outrageous amounts, skyrocketing, amounts of mahr, and they think that's the protection of their daughter. This is definitely no protection and strongly condemned. So our scholars, our mujtahideen, our urafa have been battling this behavior in our society. I remember Ayatollah Khamenei, hafidhahullah, saying that if any of the youth want me to recite their marriage, then your mahr should not be more than 14 gold coins. There's a gold coin coined in Iran called Sikkah Bahar Azadi. So not more than 14. If you want to put a mahr more than 14 gold coins, some people put 500 or 1,000 or maybe 14,000 gold coins. I wonder they didn't put 124,000 in the name of the prophets. So he said, if anyone puts more than 14, don't come to me. I'm not going to read your nikah. So our scholars have been battling this wrong of the society practiced by some people by raising the mahr. So Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, those personalities who are the greatest of all and the highest among all, have been putting the simplest of the mahr. Isn't that a lesson for us? 500 dirhams. 1 dirham used to be is equal to 2.5 grams of pure silver. 500 dirhams means 1,250 grams of pure silver. This is the Mahr al-Sunnah. That's the Mahr of Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam. No one's daughter can be higher than Hazrat Fatima. Isn't that right? If that's what some people think, my daughter is no less than my neighbor's daughter. Isn't it right? He put the Mahr like this and this and this, so my daughter has to be at least similar to him. This is the kind of mentality some people have. 500 dirhams, and he recited. And then Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam asked a question to Yahya ibn Aksam that who is that lady which become halal 4 times and haram 4 times? Starting from the time, in the morning, she was haram. At the time of Duha, waqt chasht ka waqt, din chadhe ka waqt jise hum kehte hain. When the sun rises, like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., she becomes halal. At the time of Zuhr, she again becomes haram. At the time of Asr, she becomes halal. At the time of Maghrib, she becomes haram. At the time of the middle of the night, she becomes halal. Isn't it right? And before the Fajr, she becomes haram. And then again, after the Fajr, she again becomes haram. Again becomes halal. So this 4 times haram and 4 times halal. He was shocked. He has no answer to any of those questions which requires the in-depth knowledge of fiqh of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So this is where Mamun Rashid, this is where Mamun Rashid had to end up saying, when he heard this question from the Imam, he ended up saying that he is the member of Ahlul Bayt and there is no difference among Ahlul Bayt between young and old. They all have the similar knowledge, that means. So, in just a few days, Imam, look at the barakat. I mentioned to you the hadith of Imam al-Salam calling the greatest barakat in this child. Look at the barakat of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. In just a matter of few days, he mentioned 30,000 ahkam of Islam to the people. 30,000 in just few days. It's even hard to even read about those 30,000 ahkam in just few days, what to talk of explaining it to the people. This is how they were doing the nashr of ulum. Everything of Ahlul Bayt has barakat. Migrations of Ahlul Bayt. If you look at their hijrat from one city to the other, it's always full of barakat. Hijrat in Islam is not done for the sake of un-Islamic reasons. Hijrat, Prophet says in his hadith sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Al-Muhajiru man hajara sayyi'at. Muhajir is the person who quits the sins. Here we learn the real purpose of hijrat as a concept in Islam. Hijrat is a concept. Islam has given us concepts that need to be understood properly and deeply. Hijrat is also a concept of Islam. So hijrat, the entire purpose of hijrat in Islam is to escape from the sins. लोग कहते नहीं मौलाना ये बातें बयान ना कीजिए, हम तो यहाँ रहने के लिए आए हैं। मौलाना हम यहाँ रहने के लिए आए हैं। नहीं, हम भी रहने ही के लिए आए हैं, हम यहाँ मरने के लिए नहीं आए हैं, मगर दीन बेच के रहने के लिए नहीं आए हैं, या दीन को तलाक दे के रहने के लिए नहीं आए हैं, दीन को महफूज रख के रहने के लिए आए हैं. In every mujtahid's fatwa, if you are unable to practice your iman, your values, your ahkam in any city, in any province, in any country, in any region, it's wajib on you to migrate from one city to the other, from one province to the other, from one zone to the other, from one country to the other, for the sake of protecting your religion. That's the reason of migration in Islam. बाज़े लोग थे ना, वो इस्लाम को तलाक दे के आए थे. अमेरिका जो आए थे तो इस्लाम को तलाक दे के आए थे. सलवात. So now, in the gathering with Yahya ibn Aqsam, in another gathering with Yahya ibn Aqsam, what happened is that after the marriage of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, he stayed for a short while in Baghdad, and then when the occasion of Hajj came, he came to, for Hajj, and then he stayed in Medina for the rest of his life. So obviously Mamun Rashid died, and then Mu'tasim Billah came into power, and he again forces the Imam to come. So now, and that's obviously this time when Mu'tasim Billah invited the Imam, he invited to poison and to kill him. That was the reason why Imam al-Jawad al-Islam was invited for the second time. So now in this second invitation, in another gathering where Abi Dawood, who was the Qadi and Darbari Mullah of Mu'tasim Billah, I told you already it's a pattern of the Tawagheed to hire mullahs, not just one or two, there's a long list. So in the time of Mu'tasim is a new guy, Abi Dawood. So he was the Qadi and judge of Mu'tasim. Now he's sitting in the gathering, and they bring a thief. And Mu'tasim asks Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam how we are supposed to cut the hand in Islam. Obviously, you can find so much bashing in the Western media about the punishments of Islam, but you would never find those 14 conditions which are necessary to be met before the hand can be cut. More than 1 million people can be killed. More than 1 million innocent civilians can be killed in Iraq in the name of democratization of the Middle East. Isn't it right? And nothing much happens. about that. Isn't it right? So, Imam Al-Jawad was present. Abi Dawood gave his fatwa that the hand of a person needs to be cut from the wrist. And he's doing his, bringing his reasoning that through the ayat of tayammum, and saying because in tayammum we use that much of the hand below the wrist, the palms of the hand, so that's why this much hand needs to be cut for a thief. Another guy was present in the gathering and he presented his reasoning from the ayatul wudu, because in wudu we use the hand from the elbow up till the fingers. So actually the hand should be cut from the elbows. Look at those fatwas. And Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam did his istidlal, and his reasoning was provided by mentioning the ayat of Holy Quran, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. The places of sajda are for Allah. So Imam Jawad alayhi salam is trying to prove the point that those parts which are used for sajda, we are not supposed to cut those parts. The palm of the hand is utilized in the sajda when we put it, the 7 parts of the sajda, isn't it right? Palm of the 2 palms are part of the 7 parts of sajda that we put. So the palm cannot be cut. So you have to cut it from the roots of the fingers. Please say salawat. Well, this is the occasion in the history. The analysts say, the historians who analyze the situation, they say that gathering was so hard on Abi Dawood that he complained to Mu'tasim Billah that you gave preference to the fatwa of this guy over my fatwa. People will end up thinking that he's the Khalifa of Rasulullah, not you. And that kind of complaint, some analysts of the history say, was part of the reason why Mu'tasim Billah poisons the Imam. Look at the hasad and hatred. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. Have you seen the one who has chosen his desire to be his Lord, and Allah misguides him on knowledge? Some people get misguided after learning the knowledge. Why? Because they don't practice their knowledge. Despite the fact they have learned what they are supposed to do, but they still did not practice. Allah misguides those people. They deserve to be misguided because they themselves invited the misguidance, knowingly and intentionally. Ibn Abi Dawood is one of those people. Now Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, the hadith which I recited in the beginning, from him he says, Izzul mu'min ghinahu anin nas. The dignity of a mu'min is being rich from the people, not standing in need of the people, being mustaghni, biniyaz from the people. Everyone wants to become mu'azzaz and have izzat and dignity. Everyone wants to be like this. Even the non-Muslims are like this. You find so many ceremonies taking place where they honor their people. Isn't it right? That's by nature. Human wants to be dignified. Whoever wants izzat and dignity, he should become needless of the humans. Beniyaz from the people. Khaja Abbas, rahmatullah alayhi, one of the very nice companions of Imam Rida alayhi salam and Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. His grave is close to the city of Mashhad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the tawfiq to go and visit Mashhad of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Mamun al-Rashid jailed him. Khaja Abbas was in the prison for 1 full year. tied up in chains. No one cared about him. And he says in the narration that I was focusing on Mamun Rashid and his people to come and save me, set me free. That's a wrong behavior. It's not supposed to be done by a person like him or by any moment. Isn't it right? So after 1 year passed by, I thought, my hope was totally cut off from everyone. And then I started to do tawassul towards Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. One day I did tawassul towards Ahlul Bayt. Tawassul is very important, brothers and sisters, that we teach our children, that they learn to turn towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and to seek intercession towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the Ahlul Bayt, because they are the closest. This is what we want to teach our children. One of the reasons why the problems arise in our lives is because we lack tawassul with Ahlul Bayt. One of the reasons is this. If we continue to do tawassul with Ahlul Bayt, our problems will continue to be solved. So Khaja Abbas says, one day after a complete year, I did tawassul towards Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, and on the same day, I saw Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam coming inside my prison. And when I looked at the Imam, I started to cry. Obviously, when you are in that situation, it's very natural. You have been suffering throughout 1 year. And all of a sudden, you see your Imam coming there to help you. So he bursted into tears and he said to the Imam, why didn't you come earlier? And my Imam replied back, when did you call me that I didn't come? That's the first day he called, isn't that right? So he says, Imam took my hand and he walked me out of all those jail inmates and took me out of the jail and said, now onwards, they will never find you. In other words, please say salawat. So Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam is Babul Hawa'ij. Whatever hajat we have towards Allah, we all have hajat. Tonight is one of the best occasions. Let's make our niyat that, oh my Lord, I want my hawa'ij to be fulfilled because of the barakat of Babul Hawa'ij. And you find when you do tawassul with our ikhlas, it will always work for us. So Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam is Babul Hawa'ij, and obviously there is a very great dua. All the duas are equally great. Very great dua narrated from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. This is for the tawassul towards, and especially for the wus'at and expansion in the rizq. If those of you, I don't want to take much time to read the whole dua here. For those of you who are interested, you can come to me later on and I can give you this dua, which is from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam for the wus'at and expansion in the rizq, and it's a very great dua. So Yahya ibn Aqsam finds the Imam alayhi salam while both of them were there at the tawaf of Kaaba, and Yahya ibn Aqsam says to the Imam, he asked a question, and Imam replies back to his question, and then he had another question, and before he asked the next question, Imam Jawad himself says, in other words, that you want to ask about who is the Imam. Our Imams know what we think, isn't it right? Just like Allah knows what we think, we don't need to tell them. They can tell what is in our hearts. An Imam is the Imam who can tell you about even your imaginations and your thoughts without you standing in need to say anything to the Imam. So Yahya ibn Aqsam thought about asking who is the Imam, and Imam said about himself that he's the Imam. And he said to the Imam, what is the alamat and sign? Imam Jawad had an asa, a stick in his hand, and as soon as the Imam alayhi salam had the irada and will, the Imams don't need to say anything verbally. Their irada, just like for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are the madhar of Allah. Just for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا, when Allah wills something, إِنَّمَا يَقُولُ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ. He only says be, and it happens. And my teacher Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli Hafadahullah was saying in his tafsir that this is not kun al-lafziyya. This is not a verbal word kun, that Allah stands in need to say the word kun and then something will happen. This word is said for us to understand. Allah does not stand in need of saying the word. Only the irada and will of Allah is sufficient for anything to happen. And the same is the case for our Imams alayhimus salam. He had the irada, and the asa and the stick started to speak up, and it said very clearly that my Mawla is the Imam of the time and he is the Hujjat. Please say salawat. These types of people have been witnessing these mu'jizas and miracles and, throughout their life. That's not the first time. But did they stop the hatred towards Ahlul Bayt? So, this is the reason why the knowledge kills you. This is the reason why Imam Khomeini Ridwanullah alayhi used to say, Ilm hijab-e-akbarast. Ilm is the biggest curtain between us and the taqarrub and closeness to Allah. The biggest curtain that blocks you away from becoming muqarrab and close to Allah is your knowledge. There's no other curtain bigger than that. What knowledge are they talking about? The knowledge that we learn from Quran and Ahlul Bayt, but we don't practice. Did Yahya ibn Aksam learn a lesson after seeing the mu'jiza? This knowledge now becomes Al-Hijjah. This is exactly how it happens. When you learn something from an alim, from a scholar, from the knowledge of Quran and Ahlul Bayt, and if you don't practice, then now you're talking about one more hijab, the thickest of all the previous ones, being added between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One person comes to Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, and Shaheed al-Sani, a great scholar, marji from Lebanon, narrated this hadith that جاء رجل إلى علي بن الحسين عليهم السلام فسأله عن مسائل فأجاب عليه السلام. One person comes to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam to ask some questions. Imam replied. The guy went away. ثم رجع ليسأله عن مثلها. Then he returns back to ask some other similar questions from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And that's where Imam Shaheed al-Sani says, Imam Sajjad said to him, لا تطلبوا علم ما لا تعملون. Don't seek the knowledge of what you do not practice. وَلَمَّا تَعْمَلُوا بِمَا عَلِمْتُمْ. And you did not practice what you learned up till now. That doesn't mean in Islam we should stop learning knowledge. Don't misinterpret the hadith. Try to learn the point that Imam is trying to make. Obviously, learning knowledge is wajib, we all know. So, لا تطلبوا علم ما لا تعملون. Don't seek the knowledge that you do not practice. وَلَمَّا تَعْمَلُوا بِمَا عَلِمْتُمْ. You did not practice up till now what you have learned. And then Imam says, فَإِنَّ الْعِلْمَ إِذَا لَمْ يُعْمَلْ بِهِ لَمْ يَزِدْ صَاحِبَهُ إِلَّا كُفْرًا. Because the knowledge, if it is not practiced upon, it increases in nothing but the kufr of the person. وَلَمْ يَزْدَدْ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا بُعْدًا. And he doesn't get no close to Allah except gets far away. So knowledge, the more knowledge these people learn, they are more far away from Allah. The more they learn, the more far away from Allah. Why? Because they are not practicing after learning it. So this is the situation of Yahya ibn Aksam. So now, obviously, this knowledge is a killer. It's going to kill the person. This knowledge is enough to take the person to Jahannam. in the hadith of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, he says, in Jahannama, in أهل النار ليتأذون من ريح العالم التارك لعلمه. That's the Maulana riwayah. That means the people of hellfire will be in torture from that knowledgeable person who did not practice his knowledge. So, Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam says that لا تكن ولي الله في العلانية وعدوا له في السر. Look at the pearls of wisdom. This is the best time for all of us to learn from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. We barely hear his hadith on other occasions. So Imam al-Jawad says, لا تكن ولي الله في العلانية. Don't be a lover of Allah in the open. وَعَدُوًا لَهُ فِي السِّرِّ, and his enemy in the hidden. When are we the enemy in the hidden? When I start doing the sinning. Remember what Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam has said, that لَا تَسُبَّنَّ إِبْلِيسَ فِي الْعَلَانِيَّةِ وَأَنْتَ صَدِيقُهُ فِي السِّرِّ. Don't curse Iblis. That means don't curse the shaitan, the Iblis, in the open. If I come in front of the community, I start sending la'nat on shaitan. وَأَنْتَ صَدِيقُهُ فِي السِّرِّ, while you are a friend of his in the hidden. In the loneliness, we have a friendship with shaitan. We follow his commands. And in front of the community, when we come, we start cursing the shaitan. Imam Ali says, don't curse the Iblis in the open, while you are a friend of his in the hidden. Again, that doesn't mean cursing shaitan is bad. That's not the point. The point is that we should make our zahir and batin similar. That's the point. So Imam al-Jawad says, لا تكن ولي الله في العلانية. Don't be a lover of Allah in the open and enemy of Allah in the hidden. And he says, كيف يضيع من الله تعالى كافله. How can a person get wasted when Allah is his sponsor? So we need to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala our kafil. And that's it. Then we would relax. All we need to do, brothers and sisters, is to make sure our children are under kifalat and sponsorship of Allah. And then we relax. Nothing else to worry about any further. How do we make sure our children are under the kifalat and sponsorship of Allah? Make them the lovers of Allah and the lovers of the Prophet and lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Because Amir al-Mu'minin has said, إن كان أولادك أولياء الله فإن الله لا يضيع أولياءه. That's the Maulana riwayah. If your children are, Waliullah, beloved servants of Allah, awliya Allah. That's what we are supposed to make our children. The job of the father and mother, in a nutshell, make your children become part of awliya Allah, beloved servants of Allah. That's our job in this life. We can never remain in this world forever to supervise our children, can we? Then what is our job in a nutshell? Make our children, raise them in a way that they become part of awliya Allah, beloved servants of Allah, whom Allah loves. When you love Allah, Allah loves you. That's the way it works. When you practice His fariḍah, His fara'id, Allah loves you. So when your children are part of awliya Allah, then Imam Ali had already said, Inna Allah la yudhi'u awliya'ahu. Allah does not waste His beloved servants. وَإِن كَانَ أَوْلَادُكَ أَعْدَاءَ اللَّهِ. And if your children are enemies of Allah. See, these are the only two possibilities. There's no third way out. Either my kids are falling in the category of the beloved servants of Allah, or they are falling in the category of the enemies of Allah. There's no third way out. if my children are falling in the category of the enemies of Allah, Imam Ali says, فَمَا هَمُّكَ بِعَدَاءِ اللَّهِ, then why are you focusing on the enemies of Allah? Why are you having your, focus and attention over the enemies of Allah? I don't want to raise an enemy of Allah in my house. I don't want to raise an enemy of Ahlul Bayt in my house, enemy of the walayat of Ahlul Bayt in my house. No way. So Imam al-Jawad says, كَيْفَ يَضِيعُ مَنِ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى كَافِلُهُ. How can a person be wasted when Allah is his sponsor? كَيْفَ يَنْجُو مِنَ اللَّهِ مَنِ اللَّهُ طَالِبُهُ. How can a person succeed when Allah is going after him? When Allah is seeking you, can you succeed? Can we escape from Allah? لا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. Dua Kumail. It's not possible to escape from your government, from your realm. And Imam then says, Man inqata'a ila ghayrillah wakkalahu Allahu ilayh. And I'm coming to the end of my speech. Man inqata'a ila ghayrillah. Whoever breaks away from Allah towards anyone or anything other than Allah, Allah surrenders him to that one, that person or that thing. This is the worst thing that can happen to a person when Allah leaves us up to that person other than Allah. That's the worst that can happen to any guy. So we are not supposed to break away from Allah towards any human or anything or any worldly interests, so-called, that we perceive we are smart enough, that we are protecting, we are intelligent, we are smarter than our mujtahids. No, Maulana, mujtahideen are sitting far away, thousands of kilometers away. We are living in the West, we understand better than them. Na'udhu billah. There are people who think, they perceive from their own opinion, they think they are very smart, they are outsmarting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God forbid. And this is what is backfiring no one else but themselves. So whoever breaks away from Allah towards anyone or anything other than Allah, Allah submits him to that person or that thing. What can he do for you? What did the people, world worshipping people, did for Saddam? What did they do for Shah? How can you serve the Tawaghit more than Shah? Can you serve more than Shah? How much he buttered up, killing his own people for the sake of pleasing others? Can you become a better puppet than Shah and Saddam? But some people are not here to learn lessons. They think they are smart. So then Imam al-Jawad says, Man amila ala ghayri ilmin afsada akthar mimma yuslih. Whoever acts without the knowledge, he damages, he spreads fasad. Afsada, he spreads mischief more than what he can correct the things. More than the islah, he will end up doing fasad. This is the reason why we always say that every position holder of every Islamic organization and center and Islamic activity has to be a person who has the knowledge. We don't want to do fasad more than our islah. So people break away from Allah towards ghayr Allah. And this is exactly what al-Fazl, la'natullahi alayha, the wife of Imam al-Jawad, did. In order to please the brother of Ma'mun, Mu'tasim Billah, upon the call of Mu'tasim Billah, she poisons Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam with grapes. Man inqata'a ila ghayrillah wakkalahu Allahu ilayhi. It's a universal formula that we learned from Imam al-Jawad. You can apply it anywhere. It will never be invalid. Whoever breaks away from Allah towards anyone or anything other than Allah, Allah will submit him to that one or that thing. What could Mu'tasim do for you? What did he do for her at the end of the day? He kicked her out after using her for his job. Kicked her out. That was expected. What did Yazid do for Umar ibn Sa'd? What did Ibn Ziyad do for Ibn Sa'd? Yazid sent the letter to Ibn Ziyad to make Umar ibn Sa'd the wali of Ray Shahr. Ibn Ziyad ripped that letter right in front of the eyes of Umar ibn Sa'd and threw it away. Umar ibn Sa'd had to just walk out of the darbar without getting nothing. Are these not lessons? Man inqata'a ila ghayrillah wakkalahu Allahu ilayh. And soon after she poisons Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, we find that she started to cry. Imam al-Jawad said that now that you killed me, you are crying? I swear to Allah, Allah is going to subject you with an illness which will have no cure. And the same happened. اللہ نے ایسی بیماری میں مبتلا کیا الفضل لعنت اللہ علیہا کو جس کی کوئی معالجہ کوئی علاج ہی نہیں تھا. میرے مولا امام جواد علیہ السلام 25 برس کے ہیں جب آپ کو زہر دیا گیا ہے. مظلومیت کے ساتھ میرے مولا کو تنہائی میں اپنے گھر والوں سے دور مولا کو شہید کیا جا رہا ہے. اس مظلومیت کے ساتھ کوئی مولا کے ساتھ نہیں ہے. میرے مولا اس مظلومیت اس تنہائی میں شہید ہو رہے ہیں. اور روایت میں ہے کہ بظاہر تو واثق باللہ نے نماز پڑھائی، مگر میرے مولا معصوم کی نماز چونکہ غیر معصوم نہیں کے علاوہ کوئی اور نہیں پڑھائے گا، معصوم ہی پڑھائے گا. میرے مولا امام نقی معجزانہ طور پہ طی العرض کر کے تشریف لائے اور آپ نے اپنے والد ماجد امام جواد علیہ السلام کی نماز جنازہ پڑھائی. اور میرے مولا امام نقی علیہ السلام نے اپنے ہاتھ سے غسل دیا، آپ نے اپنے ہاتھ سے کفن پہنایا. اور امام جواد علیہ السلام یقیناً وہاں اصحاب بھی موجود ہیں، یقیناً چاہنے والے بھی موجود ہیں، مجمع بھی موجود ہے اور ظالمین بھی موجود ہیں. نماز میت ادا ہو رہی ہے. مولا آپ بے شک مظلوم ہیں، مگر آپ کے جنازے میں اچھی خاصی رونق ہے. اپنے بھی موجود ہیں، اغیار بھی موجود ہیں، نماز بھی ادا کی گئی، آپ کو کفن بھی پہنایا گیا. مولا بے شک آپ بہت مظلوم ہیں، مگر آپ کے جد کا جنازہ کربلا میں 3 دن تک بے گور و کفن پڑا رہا، 3 دن تک پڑا رہا، یہاں تک کہ کوئی کفن دینے والا نہیں. جناب فضہ نے آ کے کیا کہا تھا شہزادی زینب سے؟ میں ایک بڑی خبر لے کے آئی ہوں. شہزادی نے کیا کہا تھا؟ اب کوئی خبر، یعنی بھیا کی شہادت کے بعد کوئی خبر بڑی نہیں رہی زینب کے لیے. جناب فضہ نے کہا کہ یہ مولا کے جنازے کو پامال کرنا چاہتے ہیں. سعید ابن طاؤس لکھتے ہیں فقام 10 من الفوارز، 10 گھوڑوں کو تیار کیا جا رہا ہے کہ امام حسین کے جنازے کو سمو تلے پامال کیا جائے. یہاں تک کہ میرے مولا کی پسلیوں کو توڑ دیا گیا، جنازے کو پامال کیا گیا. 3 دن تک جنازہ پڑا رہا مگر کوئی غسل و کفن دینے والا نہیں. تمام شہداء کے جنازے ان کے قبیلے والے آ کر لے گئے، مگر چونکہ میرے مولا کا کوئی قبیلے والا نہیں. نہ جانے کیا گزری میرے مولا امام سجاد پر، نہ جانے کیا گزری ہوگی، ہم نہیں سمجھ سکتے. شہزادی زینب پہ کیا گزری ہوگی. عزادارو، اور جب یہ لٹا ہوا قافلہ جب کوفہ پہنچتا ہے اور وہاں حبیب ابن مظاہر کے صاحبزادے کو بھی خبر ملی کہ ان کے بابا کو شہید کیا گیا، تو حبیب ابن مظاہر کے صاحبزادے وہاں آتے ہیں اور دیکھا کہ اپنے والد کا سر ایک سواری کے گردن میں لٹکا ہوا ہے. اس سے برداشت نہیں ہوا، شمشیر نکالی اور لڑنے کے لیے تیار ہو گیا کہ میرے بابا کا سر میرے حوالے کرو. وہ برداشت نہیں کر سکتا کہ ان کے بابا کا سر ان کے قاتلوں کے پاس رہے. ارے جی چاہتا ہے امام سجاد سے شہزادی دادی زینب سے عرض کروں ارے آپ پہ کیا گزری کہ آپ نے کربلا سے کوفہ اور کوفے سے شام تک اپنے بابا اپنے شہداء کے سروں کو مولا کے سر کو اشقیاء کے پاس دیکھا نوکے نیزہ پہ بلند دیکھا الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إلهي بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها پڑھا پرچم اسلام کو سر بلند فرما پرچم کفر و شرک و نفاق کو سر نگوں فرما انقلاب اسلامی کی حفاظت فرما تمام علماء ربانیین تمام مراجع کرام بالخصوص رہبر انقلاب کا سایہ ہمارے سروں پہ برقرار رکھ تمام مجاہدین اسلام بالخصوص وہ کہ جو حرم ہائے مقدس عتبات عالیہ کا دفاع کر رہے ہیں وہ تمام مومنین جو کہ امت مسلمہ میں خالص اسلام کے دفاع میں قدم اٹھا رہے ہیں ان تمام مومنین کی حفاظت و نصرت فرما تمام مومنین کو وظائف شرعیہ پر عمل کرنے کی توفیق عنایت فرما تمام مومنین کو کی مشروع حاجات کو پورا فرما جو مومنین بیمار ہیں ان کو شفائے کامل و عاجل عنایت فرما جو مومنین اسیر ہیں بالخصوص آیت اللہ شیخ نمر ان کو جلد سے جلد رہا فرما بانیان مجلس کی مرحومین کی مغفرت فرما ان کی مشروع حاجات کو پورا فرما بااللہ ہمیں اس وقت تک اس دنیا سے نہ اٹھا جب تک امام زمانہ ہم سے راضی نہ ہوں ان کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما ہم سب کو ان کے انصار و اشیاء میں قرار دے ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم بجاہ محمد و آلہ الطاہرین ایک سورہ فاتحہ کی درخواست ہے جن کا انتقال ہوا ہے ان کے روح کے اصال ثواب کے سلسلے میں
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein. I will request Maulana uncle to come on the mic and give prayer.
شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے اے امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے 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 امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شور مدینے میں ہے روتے ہیں چھوٹے بڑے شور مدینے میں ہے روتے ہیں چھوٹے بڑے شور مدینے میں ہے روتے ہیں چھوٹے بڑے ہائے شیئن سجا ہائے شیئن سجا ہائے شیئن سجا ہائے تقی ہائے 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 شیئن سجا ہائے شیئن ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے آپ کی تھی کیا خطا زہر جو بے دیا آپ کی کیا خطا زہر جو بے دیا اے شہ کون و مکان اے شہ کون و مکان اے شہ کون و مکان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے اے شہ کون و مکان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے شیعوں کا ہے کون اب ہو گیا کیسا غضب شیعوں کا ہے کون اب ہو گیا کیسا اب کیوں نہ ہو گریا یہاں کیوں نہ ہو گریا یہاں کیوں نہ ہو گریا یہاں ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے 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 امام زمان ہائے امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے سرور علی نے سب سمجھنا وہ بے ادب سرور علی نے سب سمجھنا وہ بے ادب آپ کو احمد کی جان آپ کو احمد کی جان آپ کو احمد کی جان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے امام زمان ہائے امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے شور مدینے میں ہے روتے ہیں چھوٹے بڑے شور مدینے میں ہے روتے ہیں چھوٹے بڑے ہائے شہ انس و جاں ہائے شہ انس و جاں ہائے شہ انس و جاں ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان شیعوں کا تھا یہ بیان ہائے تقی ہائے 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 امام زمان ہائے تقی زمان ہائے امام ہائے 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 امام زمان ہائے تقی ہائے شیعوں کا ہے اور کون ہو گیا کیسا غضب شیعوں کا ہے اور کون ہو گیا کیسا غضب کیوں نہ ہو گریا یہاں کیوں نہ ہو گریا یہاں ہائے تقی ہائے ہائے ہائے
تقی ہائے
ہائے
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین 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 یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں 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 قیامت کی غذائی ہے زہرا کے گلستان میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں کہاں ہو تم علی اصغر ذرا آواز تو دینا کہاں ہو تم علی اکبر ذرا آواز تو دینا اکیلا رہ گیا ہے فاطمہ کا لال میدان میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں زمین کربلا اس کو ذرا آرام سے رکھنا زمین کربلا اس کو ذرا آرام سے رکھنا سلایا ہے علی اصغر کو لا کر تیرے داماں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں لٹا جو کربلا میں تو مسلمانوں نے کیا لوٹا لٹا جو کربلا میں تو مسلمانوں نے کیا لوٹا علی کی بیٹیوں کی چادریں آئی ہے ساما میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کے گھرانے پہ یہ کیسا انقلاب آیا محمد کے گھرانے پہ یہ کیسا انقلاب آیا علی کی بیٹیوں اور شام کی تاریک زنداں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں محمد کا گھرانہ کربلا والے بیاباں میں حسین یا حسین یا حسین اللہم صلی
مومنین متوجہ زیارت
زيارة الإمام محمد الجواد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا جعفر بن محمد بن علي البر التقي الإمام الوفي. السلام عليك أيها الرضي الزكي. السلام عليك يا ولي الله. السلام عليك يا نجي الله. السلام عليك يا سفير الله. السلام عليك يا سر الله. السلام عليك يا ضياء الله. السلام عليك يا سناء الله. السلام عليك يا كلمة الله. السلام عليك يا رحمة الله. السلام عليك أيها النور الساطع. السلام عليك أيها البدر الطالع. السلام عليك أيها الطيب من الطيبين. السلام عليك أيها الطاهر السلام عليك أيها الطاهر من المطهرين. السلام عليك أيها الآية العظمى. السلام عليك أيها الحجة الكبرى. السلام عليك أيها المطهر من الزلات. السلام عليك أيها المنزه من المعضلات. السلام عليك أيها العلي عن نقص الأوصاف. السلام عليك أيها الرضي عند الأشراف. السلام عليك يا عمود الدين. أشهد أنك ولي الله وحجته في أرضه، وإنك جنب الله وخيرة الله ومستودع علم الله وعلم الأنبياء وركن الإيمان وترجمان القرآن. وأشهد أن من اتبعك على الحق والهدى، وأن من أنكرك ونصبك لك العداوة على الضلالة من الردى أبرأ إلى الله وإليكم منهم في الدنيا والآخرة. والسلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك. السلام عليك وعلى أمك وأخيك. السلام عليك وعلى الأئمة من ذريتك وبنيك. السلام عليك وعلى أخيك أبي الفضل العباس، وعلى أختك أم المصائب زينب، وعلى ولديك العليين الشهيدين، وعلى المستشهدين بين يديك جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمامي وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك، وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والذابين عليك. والسلام عليكم أهل البيت ورحمة الله وبركاته.
MOMIN, please recite Surah Fatiha for the marhum Syed Azadar Hussain. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. MOMIN, on the gents side, there are 2 tables, and the volunteers are going to serve. So we will appreciate your patience. But Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.